Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are back again tonight with Real Talk with Real Survivors, brought to you by Her Voice and the one and only Dr. Shayna. We are so excited to bring these two amazing women to you tonight. They're going to be sharing their stories with you. And I encourage you to share this on your social media platform, or if you're on YouTube, please share it out. And so that someone who needs to hear these stories of resilience and the fact that they were counted out and they are survivors and they are standing strong today. And there she is.
Hello. Hey, Tracy L. James. How are you this evening?
I am awesome, Shayna. I have been looking forward to this conversation all day long. I know both of these women, and they are amazing.
Dynamic. Yes, this is going to be a great conversation. Well, Tracy has always already welcomed you into our live this evening. If you just stumbled upon us and you're like, what is going on? I am Dr. Shayna D. Lewis, and I am the founder of Her Voice, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering survivors of domestic violence to live healthy lives through mentorship and education. So think big brothers, big sisters, but for survivors of domestic violence. And we are absolutely, completely, and totally dedicated to supporting women in our community. Now, every year, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Now, this year, typically we have, a show enough Sunday brunch that Joe
Yes.
Carmoon, some singing. So, listen, we have a wonderful brunch. It looks a little different this year. And so Tracy L. James gave us an amazing idea of what to do this year. So Tracy, just share with them a little bit about what are we doing this year that looks different?
One of the things that we're doing different this year is we are engaging men to speak up and speak out against domestic violence. And some of my past experience, I was encouraging men to wear pink to support breast cancer survivors. In this campaign, Real Men Wear Purple, we are encouraging men to wear purple and speak out against domestic violence. They're a key part of the solution to eradicating domestic violence from our communities.
Super important. One of the things, Tracy, that was so important to me when you brought this idea, and actually last year, Rep. Ron Reynolds talked about men being engaged more as well. The thought of domestic violence typically being seen as a woman's issue. You usually see women on the forefront standing up saying it's not okay, it's wrong. But we make a mistake if we don't include men. Now, if you were following us on Tuesday night, Tracy, Tuesday
Yes,
night, Tracy.
that was a real conversation with two real men.
Real men. Yes.
All
So
right.
if you weren't here for that conversation, please go back in my feed. Please go back on the Her Voice Inc. YouTube page, because we had a show note conversation with two of the real men who have decided to take a visual, verbal stance against domestic violence. So shout out to Duval Mitchell and Brandon Moore for being with us on Tuesday night to have that male perspective about how to stand up for women. And if you are joining us tonight, please do us a favor and just say hello. In the chat box, say hello. Let us know who you are, where you are watching us from. We like to interact with our audience. If you have questions, please ask. This is an opportunity for us to dialogue with each other. So we definitely knew we had the conversation about real men on Tuesday, but tonight, like Tracy said, we're going to have real talk with real survivors. And the two women that we're going to bring forward this evening, both have been mentors in Her Voice for many, many, many years. They are amazing women in the community. You can't wait for you to meet them and hear their stories. Well, first up, we have Kathy Carey. Hi, Kathy.
Hello.
And Kathy is you're a lieutenant now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, so I should say Lieutenant Kathy Carey of the Houston Police Department. Which division do you work in now, Kathy?
I'm currently at the Midwest Division.
And let me tell you, Kathy comes, she packs punches. Okay. She's a heavy hitter in the police department. And I feel so privileged that you're a part of our program and that we have a member of our law enforcement who supports our work and who has a passion herself for this topic. So thank you for being here tonight, Kathy.
Thank you.
And next up, absolutely. And next up, we have Tina George. Hello, Tina.
Hello, everyone.
Now, Tina George, by day, works in the hospital, I know, but by night, she is an author. She has her own, I want to say, so is it a radio or TV show program that you have now, Tina?
It's just Facebook Live right now. I'm working on some things, and I talk about soul ties and, being in abusive relationships, how it ties all together.
Absolutely, soul ties. And so Tina has been with us from the beginning, and now she's venturing out doing her own things. We're so excited for her. But I can't wait for you all to hear the stories that Tina and Kathy have to share for us tonight. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Oh, thank you.
And so one of the things why it's so important to have this conversation, because I really want people to understand what domestic violence is and how serious it is. Right before we went on live tonight, I was watching, well, the news was on. I don't typically watch it because it's so depressing, but it happened to be on and I was in the area. And when I hear domestic violence, of course, I'm running to the television to see what they're talking about. And they talked about a story that happened last night where there was a young woman who was shot and killed at home by her husband. Her mother was shot at as well. Children were there. Tragic situation. It went on to say, and this is what really was, all of it is disturbing, but this shed more light as well. I want to say it's since March. We are now in what, October? So how many months is March to October, y'all? 7 months since we've been in the coronavirus world. Harris County has had 48, I believe the number was, to domestic violence. I'm talking about the last 7 months, not an entire year. Harris County, we already know, has the #1 rate and has for several years rate of domestic violence homicide in the state of Texas. But we're talking about the last 7 months. So coronavirus has quadrupled cases of domestic violence for women. So we must have this conversation. We must find an answer, and we must all bind together to stop this. We have to. Kathy, let's just start with you. Since you are also in the law enforcement as well, you have several vantage points of this issue. First of all, would you mind sharing what parts of your own personal journey that you want to share tonight that bring you to a space of being so passionate about domestic violence?
Well, it started early in life because my mother was in a domestic violence situation, a bad marriage. And not only was he abusive to her, but he was also abusive to me. So her finally getting out of that situation has been an inspiration to me. And it helped me to know what I didn't want to happen in my life. And if I had any kids, I didn't want to put them through it. But I did have one relationship that was headed down that road. And by the grace of God, my eyes were opened early and I was able to get out. And so, I've just stayed focused on that, making sure I look out for the warning signs.
Okay. One of the things you brought up, Kathy, that is so common is that children who grow up in violent homes are much more at risk for either finding themselves as victims or being perpetrators. So it's really important that we understand that not only is the woman impacted, but the children are as well.
Yes.
As well. And what was it for you that allowed you to, and you talked about there was one relationship for you. What was it for you that helped you know, no, this is not okay. I will not deal with this. I will get out of this. What was it for you?
We were actually having a phone conversation and we were arguing on the phone. This is after, I think on one incident, he did hit me. And, but on other occasions, there were incidents that occurred where, the fear was there. So the fear was there. And this particular day, we were on the phone, having a phone conversation, and we were arguing. And it's just like this light just came on, and and I had a flashback of my stepfather, and and it was at that point I just right then I told him, "You remind me of my stepfather, and I know there's no way in hell I'd ever marry you. So there's no sense in us wasting any more of each other's time." And from that point, the threats started coming. He started threatening me, and I actually had to go down to the Harris County Domestic Violence Office, and it didn't require a restraining order or anything. They just sent him a letter, and he left me alone. That doesn't always work. It worked for me, but you have to start somewhere.
You must start somewhere. Tracy, will you speak to that a little bit? I know for you also, you have your own personal experience as well too. How did that resonate for you?
That resonated a lot for me. I didn't grow up in that type of home, but the one thing that was consistently told was that these are the things you should not take. And the main things that were always told to me was that you should never allow a man to put his hands on you. And when I was in college, I was dating a guy, really liked him, and he didn't like the way I was dressed one night when I was getting ready to go out. And we got into an argument in my house, and he raised a hand back to hit me. And I looked at him because I was shocked. I was like, what? We're arguing about my outfit. What? And it threw me for a loop. And he apologized. And we went out that night, no problem, no issues. But it still was in the back of my mind. And when I talked with a friend of mine, she was a couple of years ahead of me in school. And she was like, you need to get away from him. And that was the prompting, because I respected who she was. And I was like, well, and she just started saying this could get worse. She said, you don't want to stay there. Mm-hmm. And so I got out of the relationship. And thankfully, he allowed me to walk away. I've heard the stories where people weren't allowed to walk away, without some repercussions. And so when you start to think about how your past impacts your present, and the examples that are set to you, because truth of the matter is, adults, we can say it to our kids all we want. Do as I say, not as I do. But as kids, we follow the example that we're shown in one way or the other. We either become exactly like it, or we run as far away from the opposite side of it. So, ladies, how do you feel your past experiences have impacted your life and the experiences that you've had in respect to domestic violence?
Well, for me, like I said, it helped me to know what I didn't want in a relationship, to know, what those things to look for. And it basically has made me more passionate about helping other people, in those situations. So that's, the positive takeaway that I got out of it.
Tina, what about you?
Okay, yes. For me, my story is similar to Kathy's because I saw a lot of domestic violence growing up as well. Okay. And for me, I said that I would never, ever go through that. But I did, not once, but twice. I was in my early 20s when I first encountered my first bout with domestic violence, a young baby, and it just went from there. That was my first experience. And then when I got out of that relationship, I was like, I will never, I said it again, I never. But here I am in my late 40s, almost 50 years old, then I'm in it again. So what you just said, about how our past experiences, yes, I attracted my father. I kept attracting him in my life, and I paid for it. But I'm thankful to God that, you know, He allowed me to go through it. I got out of it not once but twice to tell my story, you know, to the younger Tina and to the middle-aged Tina that's my age. In that, you know, love doesn't hurt, it doesn't hit. You just got to know what to look for. And like I say, I knew the signs from the first time, going into the second time, but I got in it again.
I think sometimes we do ignore the red flags, and
Yes.
that's in all types of relationships. It doesn't just have
Yes.
to be a romantic relationship, but we ignore the warning
Mm-hmm.
signs, and we position ourselves where we ultimately end up getting hurt again because we give people the benefit of the doubt. You hear people saying
Yes.
that all the time. I'm just going to give that person the benefit of the doubt. Well, a good friend of mine, his wife, this was her statement about benefit in doubt. She said, there is no benefit in doubt.
Oh,
Because if there is
I
doubt
love that.
existing, then that means you need to step away from it.
Yes.
You need to
mm,
step away from it because there's something that's being shown to you to give you that doubt. So we have to stop ignoring the warning signs.
yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me in respect to being
Mm-hmm.
involved with Her Voice is getting the word out that there are warning signs.
Mhm.
There's the emotional and verbal and mental abuse that happens generally long before a
Right.
hand is ever raised.
That's true. That is
And
so
you
true.
and you know, Tracy, that's a whole word right there. You said there is
Yes.
no benefit in the doubt. I'm like,
I
listen,
love
I
that.
need to hashtag that, tweet that out. That's
Yes.
Dina
good.
Anderson, Jackson, Mississippi. Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
that's a word. I'm here for that.
Definitely.
I will pay her for it because I love that. That's good stuff. I'll be using that one.
Yeah.
Um, and it's true, the red flags. And I really want those of you who are here to really hear and pay attention. Just stop right now and hit share. Share this video. Someone on your timeline is suffering right now. She's
Yes.
potentially on the edge. She is seeing red flags, but she's calling them yellow flags because she's not sure. She's benefit of the
Mm-hmm.
doubt right now, as
Yep.
opposed to realize there is no benefit in the doubt. She
She
needs to
She
Absolutely.
hear
thinks
this
she's love
conversation
blind.
completely. She needs to
complete.
hear this conversation. So please share with her real quickly. And let me just say hello. Hi, Tommy Dudley. Hi, Tommy. It's been a long time since I last saw you from Dallas, and Janelle. And hey, Duval, one of our real men on the line. Appreciate you guys for being here. So let's talk a little bit about these red flags, though, because I want to spell this out. I don't want anyone to leave this live tonight being unclear about what red flags are, what they look like, and how they feel like. Because what we understand, they can be subtle or they can be really overt,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So,
Right.
ladies, talk about from your experiences. Tina, won't you share some of the red flags that you saw and
Okay.
perhaps ignored for a period of time until they were so big they were right in your face?
Well, the first one is the control. You know, we like for me, even before we even really got into a relationship, I talk about this experience. I was on a business trip in Las Vegas and he was just blowing up my phone and I didn't answer, you know, trying to see where I was. Like, mind you, like I said, we weren't even in a relationship then. And I already kind of knew that, that flag right there, the kind of like stalking, but you're not even in a relationship yet. So he was
Mhm.
blowing up my phone and I didn't answer for like a day or so. And then all the accusations, and that's a red flag too when you
Yeah.
doing what you do, but you know you're not doing nothing, and they're
Mhm.
accusing you of doing things. That was just one. And then when I finally got in a relationship, it was all about just me and him. Started, alienating me from my family. I would hardly communicate with them. I had to get off of Facebook. He wanted me to um, delete all my male friends, so I just stayed off of Facebook. I wouldn't get on it at all. It was just a lot of things that I kind of knew about, and just talking to me all crazy and stuff. And it was just a bunch of things. In looking back on it, yeah, I was like, yeah, you knew better. but I just went on anyway. And then I guess for me, I had been single for so long, like almost 14 years, and was ready to just start dating and getting in a relationship, and just move too fast. I tell anybody now, take your time, get to know the person, pay attention to what, if it don't feel right in your spirit, that's God's discernment. He's telling you, no, that's a caution, that's a stop. You just need to pay attention to what you're feeling inside. But it was a lot of things, like I say, the controlling my phone, controlling the money, just it's a platter of things out there that you just have to look for. And I like the most important thing that I say now, if it just doesn't feel right, and if he doesn't respect you as a woman and just talking to you any kind of way, and then when he finally put his hands on you, just know it's going to happen again. It's happening again.
So control. And so one of the things that when Tina described control, we have to understand is abuse is all about coercive control.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that it's always a physical hit or a physical anything, but you describe isolation. You describe wanting him all to yourself. You describe looking through your phone, telling you who you could talk to and who you couldn't. Coercive control. He's wanting. So anytime you're being made to say yes to something that you want to say no to, that is someone that's working to control you.
Yes, and another thing, he watched what, like you said about watching what you wear. You know, I remember going to work one particular morning. He woke up and was like, "You're not wearing that to work," and I'm like, "I'm looking fine. I had my little uniform top on, and evidently my pants were too tight, so made me change clothes and just stuff like that. When you can't even wear what you want to wear because he don't think it's appropriate, that's a big red flag.
And you know what, Tina, I think that is something that women would dismiss as, well, he just wants me to look my best, or he just prefers this or that. Ladies, did you hear? That is control.
That's control.
Is abusive.
Yes. One of the things that and I think a lot of us get caught up in is the spending a lot of time together. If you're spending so much time together that you don't have time for any other family members, that's the start of the isolation. If you're not having your life, you're thinking he's just flattering you, trying to spend a lot of time with you, wants to give you all his time. You still have to have a life, okay? And that's that's just the beginning, because we spent a lot of time together. We spent so much time together that I stopped spending time with my friends. That was just the beginning of it. And then one particular day, I was at work, and he happened to call my job, and I was on break. And and I was on break, and the person told him that I wasn't there. So when I get home, he pops up at my house and, "Where were you?" What are you talking about? I was at work. So that was the first episode, basically.
Gotcha.
And, yes, but we spent a lot of time together, a lot of time. And one of the things that was throwing up in my face, when he was telling me I can't just leave him just like that, was, nobody's going to treat you the way I did, taking you out to eat almost every day, so all this flattery stuff, we have to be careful that we are keeping our eyes open.
Yes. And Kathy, when you said that, it just made remembrance for me. When I would leave the house, like in the morning, get in the car, head to work, I have to call him from my desk phone and let him know I am at work. Same thing when I'm on my way home, call him from my desk phone, I'm on my way home. Get in the car, I'm in the car. And if I don't get home in that amount of time, then allotted for me to get home, where did I go? Where did I stop? And that was, oh my gosh, I can't even tell y'all how I felt like a bird in a cage. I could not breathe. It was horrible.
Yeah. And that type of situation, I mean, living in a city like Houston, I mean, let's just be real. Before the pandemic, we all know that you could be on one side of town and the GPS might tell you 30 minutes when you get in the car, and you go 3 blocks and it jumps to 45 minutes an hour to get from one spot to the other.
Exactly.
And that's no way to truly live in that kind of constrained space. And I know sometimes people will say, well, I don't understand, you know, why they would stay. And I love, one of the things I love about Dr. Shana is her realness. And her being very upfront about the fact that that's not the question you should ask. Not at all.
Wrong question. You want to know the right question, family? I'll tell you. Why won't he stop abusing her? That's the question you ask. When you ask, well, why won't she just leave? You are blaming her for what has happened to her, as opposed to the perpetrator who has perpetrated against her. And that is how we disenfranchise women. Right? We judge women for what they experience and blame them for what has happened. And this is why the community being educated on what it is and what it isn't, and what you can do to assist in eradicating this is so important. I am not a survivor. Statistics will show that 1 in 2 women will suffer at least psychological abuse. We got 3 on this line out of 4 who have suffered some kind of abuse. So we've already met that statistic. You have 1 in 5 that will suffer severe physical violence. If you add one more woman to this live, then we would have met 1 to 5. And I know that's already happened with those of us who are sitting here right now. So when you think about how prevalent this is, every single person on watching this live, you know a woman that's going through it. She just may not have told it to you.
Yeah.
And if she hears you saying things like, well, that doesn't make any sense, even talking about somebody else, you never know what somebody is going through while you talking about somebody else that will cause them to never come and tell you anything that's going on with them that's really real. And it makes a woman's world small. So both of you just already described how in an abusive relationship, your world gets shrunk because that's by design.
Yes.
So he wants to shrink your world so that the narrative that you get to hear is the one that he tells you. So other people aren't able to be an influence. And it's a mind manipulation. It's completely and totally that. You use the analogy, Tina, a caged bird has wings but cannot fly. Cannot fly. Because you are trapped inside of something. And I really want people to understand that domestic violence is absolutely a place that women can feel extremely trapped, alone, very alone. And so can you ladies speak about, for you, at the point, for you, Tina, because Kathy addressed this some, when you got to the point where you were able to figure out this is not where I need to be leaving, what was that process like for you? Because a lot of times, folks don't understand what it really takes to get to that place. Can you share that with us?
Well, I always talk now when I speak, you got to find that why. It's going to take something that's going to be so tragic that you love so much, something. And for me, it was my grandson, because he wanted to harm him. And, going through what I was going through with him. And I was like, no, I'm not going to let you do this. So I had to start planning my escape. And I did, and I kind of allowed things to happen after that. And he was getting ready to have one of his daughters flown in for Father's Day. And I'm planning, I'm plotting. I'm like, okay, I'm going to let you spend time with her, but I got to go. So I just, I knew I had to do it. I actually had packed a bag and put it in the closet. Then I got scared and took the bag out because I thought he would find it. So even on the morning that I finally had enough, we had an altercation. It wasn't the physical, but it was mental. Y'all don't understand the mental side of domestic violence. This man talked about me so bad. It was just like, and I didn't sleep that night. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. But then here comes the enemy telling me, oh, no. This was a Sunday, and I was getting ready to go do an appointment on that Monday. And the enemy was like, no, just wait till the weekend. And it was like God came back and said, no, you got to go today. So that particular morning, I got up early, got ready. Any other time, he would have woke up to see what I was wearing. He didn't wake up. So I left out of there, y'all, with nothing. I talk about it in my book. I was running around my house like silly from The Color Purple, throwing stuff in the bag, just stuff I needed just to go to work. And that's it. I walked away from everything. So when you get to the point of you just tired, you don't want to do it no more, that's when you're going to start looking for some kind of way to get out. And I knew the way to get out. And I was speaking about this the other day. I didn't do it the right way, y'all. I didn't. You got to make a safe way for yourself, a safe place for you to go. I went to my son's house, and I thank God that he did not know where my child lived. He knew where I worked, but he didn't know where he lived. So I'm saying this to say this. Don't go to a family member's house. Call the hotline. Call their nonprofits, and her voice is an awesome one to call. Do it safely, because you don't want to put your family members in harm's way, because he had already threatened my sons that if I left, what he was going to do to them.
And that's not a
And even my mother, when she left my stepfather, she knew that she couldn't just leave him, have this conversation with him and leave and all of that. She left him when he was having glaucoma surgery. He was in the hospital. And she walked away.
Yeah.
And basically just walked away with the stuff that she could pack in the car. Myself, I was in Louisiana at my grandmother's house. So she didn't have me to worry about, and that was her opportunity, and that's when she left.
It's the leaving is the dangerous space.
Yeah.
I lost a friend 2 years ago, and we didn't even know. She had already survived a prior relationship, and this was a rekindling of a relationship. She never shared with us about that there was anything ever wrong in their relationship. But when we started to see signs, we didn't really think they were signs. We were thinking she's working on her book, because when she writes, she's not connected to us. But that's not what was happening. And we'll never know what happened in that house that night. But we honestly believe she was trying to leave.
Yes.
We honestly believe she was trying to leave. And it's unfortunate, but it definitely got my attention and the attention of a lot of my friends at that time. We had not even had that conversation about, hey, what's really going on in your life? Have these surface conversations. Well, hey, how you doing? Oh, girl, I'm good. And you don't really know what's going on. You have to take it a step further and say, no, really, how are you? What's really going on in your world? Because I know that's what helped me get out of my marriage, is that conversation. Something's not right.
Ooh, Tracy. And you pointed out something that's extremely important that people really need to understand, is that when a woman is leaving, she is in the most danger.
Yes. The
most danger. And folks say, well, what makes that so dangerous? Well, when we describe that abuse is about coercive control, at the point when someone's trying to leave, we're losing control of the person that I've been working to control. So we'll do anything not to lose that control. And her life is at the most risk. And so when we ask the question, why won't she just leave? That's the most dangerous time for her as well. There's so much about this that folks just don't know. If you're just scrolling on this page and you're like, what are they talking about? You have just walked upon Real Talk with Real Survivors. I'm Dr. Shayna D. Lewis, the founder of Her Voice, a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering survivors of domestic violence. Tracy L. James is my right hand, left hand, and the co-chair of the Real Men Wear Purple campaign, the event that we're having on Sunday, which we'll talk about. And we're doing with Kathy Carey and Tina George, two women who are survivors of domestic violence. This conversation is happening right now because it's October Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but know that this is a 365-day issue. It's bigger than just the month of October. There's just so much about this that we need to talk about. One of the things that I do want to address now, Kathy, since you are in law enforcement, speak to right now, because I said at the top of this conversation that numbers are up. There's a whole lot more violence occurring. Folks, in some cases, don't think they have options. If I call the police, are they going to just, give him a tap on the hand? One of the situations that I was telling you about that happened yesterday, the young woman who was killed by her husband, I want to say it was either earlier that day or the day before, the police to the home. But she said she didn't want to press charges. And he did not. He was told to leave the home, but he didn't. He hid somewhere, they said. And at the point when everybody was gone, he came back out with a gun and all of these things. And she lost her life at the end of that. Talk to folks about what options we actually have in our law enforcement in our community, Kathy.
Well, one of the things that, far as HPD policy is concerns when it comes to domestic violence now, for any domestic violence situation call that we go to, officers are required to call the DA's office and to seek charges, let the DA decide whether they're going to take charges or not. And if the DA declines, then they have to call a supervisor out to the scene, to see if, to make sure that it was presented right to the DA, and all of that, because we don't want to leave victims at a location when we have the suspect right there. If we can get them put in jail, we want to get them put in jail. And we have family violence. Our family violence unit has counselors that work with the officers, and they will help you if you need assistance, help you get the resources that you need to help you safely get out. We work with ABDA, aid to victims of domestic violence, and that's an organization that will help you get the protective orders. They will help you make your safety plan. There's several other organizations that will help you make your safety plans that we work with, and that's what we do. We refer people, and if we need to get you to a safe place at that time, at that point, to get you away from them, we have connections with some of the shelters that we may be able to help you get into immediately. But the first step is, you got to make those police reports. Make your police reports. You have to have those records there. Even when you feel like there's no signs, if he's put his hands around your neck and he strangled you, one of the things that we learned, and I took a class to be a expert witness in courtroom testimony for domestic violence and strangulation. And over 50% of cases, you may not see any strangulation marks. There may not be anything visible, but there's this form that officers fill out, strangulation supplement form, and they ask you questions, and those questions help build the case. And even though you may not have any visible signs on the outside, there's also thermal cameras that the investigators have at the family violence unit that will pick up those bruises that are on the inside.
Wow.
And that's days after.
Really?
So just because you don't have any visible signs, don't think that you can't make a police report. You can't get charges filed. Go and see the investigators, let them work your case, and let them put it all together. But you need to make sure that you make reports. And one of the things that is important about strangulation is that it doesn't take much pressure at all, to kill you, basically. So if a person will put their hands around your neck and choke you, impede your breathing and your blood circulation, they wouldn't have a problem killing you, because you're close to death when they do that. So at any moment, it could be the point of no return. So you have to report those issues. And that's a felony for anyone to impede your breathing or impede the blood flow.
Wow. Thank you for that, Kathy.
I have to jump
Go ahead, Tina. Go
She
ahead.
was just talking about strangulation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that happened to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going that night. So what Kathy just said is true. It if talking about my grandbaby at that point, he was in love with my grandbaby, and calling him stopped him from strangling me. I was at the point where I know I just knew I was going to die. And I remember we had an event, Dr. Shannon, you probably would remember, we did the panel and Dr. Conte was saying strangulation is one of the most potent ways that an abuse happens. It takes a lot of rage to strangle somebody, a lot
Yeah.
of force.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah,
does.
that just hit home. I got a little teary eyed when you was
You know,
talking about it.
Yeah.
then,
I want
you
y'all
know,
to
when you're
know that
angry, yeah,
they angry and they
Yeah.
just choke the life, string of the life out of you. And that was me.
Wow.
yeah, when you're angry, you don't know how much
Yeah.
strength you have at that time. Um, and so to do that is
Yeah,
that's like say it could easily get to the point of no return.
exactly.
Your face.
Mhm.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
It's real, y'all.
It's
it's so
real.
real.
This is real. And if you're watching this and you feel uncomfortable, okay,
You
don't click
should.
off. You
You
Yeah,
should.
should.
Do not click off. And this is what I know about this conversation. Folks get uncomfortable. They don't want to talk about it anymore. They don't want to hear
exactly.
it because you feel, but it's a real thing happening and it's happening all
Too much.
around you,
Yes.
all around you. And it
Too
can
much.
take one person. And I want us to talk about as well the aftermath of abuse as well too, because people in your world can make a huge impact on what happens after abuse. And we talked earlier about the psychological, emotional abuse that has wounds and scars that no one sees. Other scars will heal at some point, but those emotional wounds run really, 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 really deep. And I've worked with women for 20 years, and I have sat at the feet of so many, and those wounds they take a lifetime to
They do.
heal. So can you ladies talk about what the aftermath, after the point, okay, you decided I'm leaving. What's the aftermath like for you? What is it that you went through? What are women going to experience perhaps? What does that look like? Tina, you can go ahead and share. What was that like for
Okay.
you?
For me, although I was out of the relationship, I was still afraid. I was
Mm,
still walking around thinking he's going to find me. It took a
mm,
while for me to get that fear out of me. It took a while for me to even trust anybody, even have a conversation. I'm now just getting into the dating scene again. It took a lot for me just to even get to this point, and this happened 5 years ago.
yeah.
You know, me walking away from the relationship, I was kind of like still isolated and still was kind of distancing myself from my friends, slowly getting back in a relationship with my sons because even, going through what I was going through, your family, you keep going back and going back. It's just like they there, but then they not there. You got to build
Mm,
that relationship all over again. So now I have an awesome relationship with my sons. I'm beginning to live again. The fear is
mm,
gone. I can talk about it now without,
mm,
breaking down. I couldn't even talk about it. And I talk about this in my soul ties. When you got to sever that relationship that's got your soul tied. So I don't,
mm,
at first I would look at pictures. I would look at this. I don't look at nothing now. He was a truck driver, a car hauler. Now when I see those trucks rolling down the road, y'all, I smile. And I smile and I thank God that he allowed me to get out of it. So it's a journey getting yourself back to where you can actually be who you are again. It takes some work. It takes a lot of healing inside, and you got to heal inside before you can even think about moving on to another relationship, because if not, you're going to bring that, you won't trust, you're going to think that person is
mm,
the same way, and literally they're probably not. So it's a lot. But it takes the you got to have the tenacity within you that, yes, he almost thought he was going to break me, but he didn't. So now I got to build myself up from the roots all the way back up to where I know that who God created to me to be and who I was before him.
Yeah. Kathy, what about you?
For the most part, I think for myself, and I'm thinking back on it now, I think it was at that point where I basically kind of like put this wall up.
Yeah.
And I dated, but I was always on guard.
Yep.
And I think that actually, kept me from really getting close, really just letting that wall down. So it wasn't until, I've been married 8 years now. So I would say probably in the last 10 years that I, felt like the wall came down. So, and basically I think a lot of that had to do with, me not, from just bad relationships, period, deciding that I needed to focus on my relationship with God more than a relationship with men.
Yeah.
But yes, I think I'm sure I had a wall up.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That wall is difficult. You feel like you're protecting yourself, and for a period of time, you do need to protect yourself so you can heal.
Exactly.
But at some point, you have to let the wall down because you can't give love or receive love with the wall up. And I know for me, I have triggers.
Yeah.
And you think you over something, but somebody says or does something, and it brings that out in you.
Yes.
And now I've turned into a fighter. It's just like, no, you're not going to say that to me. You're not going to treat me that way. You're not going to do. And I attack verbally because that's how I was treated. And so I flip. And I have to remind myself, okay, Tracy, no, hold up, pull back, take a deep breath. I now take a deep breath before I say anything, when I'm in a tense situation. I take a deep breath because it gives me a moment to center myself and hear what God's saying to me instead of what my natural inclination, my flesh wants me to do. But it's there, and you have to, if you don't acknowledge that it's there, you can't get past it. You won't be able to be in a long-term relationship. You won't be able to get married. I still want to be married again, but it took time. I've been divorced now 12 years. So I've been single for a while now. So at this point, I'm at that, I'm ready to begin opening myself up to a relationship. But yeah, there's still at points, there's going to be that fear in the back of your mind that you're going to connect with that type of man again.
Exactly.
So let me put some psychology on top of what y'all just said. Because
come on, Dr. Shina.
Here she comes. So what we have to understand is that abuse is trauma, whether it's emotional, physical, sexual, spiritual, financial, whatever it might be, it's traumatic. And experience of trauma change how we see ourselves, other people, and the world. And the greater the T, so we say big T's and little T's. So the greater the T, the greater impact emotionally it is for you. So what happens is our brain literally changes how it functions because of traumatic experiences. Tracy called them triggers. Y'all talked about not trusting and the fear. That is a brain-based reaction that is protective. So when you think about animals in the wild, when they see, so you got a fox and a lion. If the fox sees the lion, the fox got a few choices. He can fight, flight, freeze, or what we call flopping immobility. Fight, he not fighting because he can't beat the lion. He can try to run if he can run faster than the lion. Maybe not. He can freeze and pretend as if, I hope you don't see me. Or he can flopping immobility, which is literally just play dead. That's what you just go with and you people please. You do what everybody else wants you to do. We as humans have the exact same reactions. even more so when we have been exposed to trauma, because we are working to survive. You just want to live. You just want to survive. That's all it is. So you work to protect yourself. Your brain is neurological, y'all. And these things happen automatically. Tracy talked about, you hear something. I'm not going to go I'm not going to therapize y'all tonight because we ain't coming to all that. But my spirit is like, oh, we need to go to the couch right quick, because we have to understand this creates a whole bunch of emotional wellness issues, mental health issues, and some women can create mental illnesses as a result of this. Yes. Not every woman goes to the point of mental illness. She can become suicidal. She can be depressed. We talked about anxiety. She can't sleep. She can't eat. She can't focus or concentrate. All of these things are results of effects of trauma. So when we're talking about a woman who's being abused, it's not just what you see.
Yeah.
It's so much deeper than what you see. And so what I'm begging folks to understand is that you want to work to understand her experience from her perspective and not from your own. Because folks will show up and say, well, if it was me, what I would do, baby, you don't know what you would do. Until you're in a situation, you can't be sure what you would do in any given moment. Because most women don't think they'll ever be in that situation until they're in that situation. No one raised their hand and said, I want to be there. So work to understand from her perspective. Do not judge her. Let her know. Women will return 7 to 11 times on average before she stays gone or she is killed. So if we are judging her on time 6, she may never get to 7 to come out and ask you for help. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just our capacity to hear, to listen, and not judge. It's so big. It's huge. It's so important. So I really, that's a space when I hear those things that really make me want to educate us on what happened. It's an emotion. It becomes a mental health issue, family. And it is something that requires help. A lot of women that I've worked with in my the nonprofit, because I also am a counselor, I have a private practice for counseling. Women don't typically come to counseling saying they've been abused. They don't come for that. They may say, you know, I'm in my relationship, I have poor communication skills, but we're not saying we're abused because we don't recognize it, right? You may call it something else. People around you, you know, and no one wants to think that they're crazy if they got to go see a counselor. I'm putting that in air quotes because nobody's crazy to go get counseling. Like, we all need a counselor at a point in our lifetime. Let's just call facts because we're human.
Well, I'm thankful for mine. I am very thankful.
Yes.
I had insomnia.
There we go.
To the point with which, after my divorce was final, I had insomnia and I couldn't understand why I couldn't go to sleep. I would be worn out but couldn't go to sleep. The doctors had run every test in the world on me to rule out anything physical. The doctor said, okay, we got 2 choices. You can take this medication or you can go see a therapist. And I opted to go see the therapist. You know, I don't like all the side effects. So it turned everything around for me because after a few sessions, she finally was just like, so when are you going to call the abuse? And I was like, I wasn't abused.
That's it.
And she was like, yes, you were. The way you were talked to, the way you were controlled, the way you were maneuvered. She's like, you've been in and out of abusive relationships most of your adult life. And I had no idea. You know, being lied to, being cheated on. I didn't think
that was abusive, but
that was abuse. You know, being made to feel that it was my fault that he cheated. That's not abuse. That's just what men do.
And what you just said right there, Tracy, is the problem because our culture normalizes abusive behavior. Because boys will be boys. They will just cheat. You know, he's sowing his wild oats. Ladies, that is abusive. When men it's different if y'all have an open understanding that when I'm with you, I'm with you, and when I'm not, I'm not. It's different when you think you're the only one and there's 2 or 3 more on the side. And lied to you and made you think you were crazy when you find things that tell you that it's 2 or 3 more on the other side. That is a manipulative, abusive relationship. We don't call it that. But that's what it is. This is how our culture normalizes this abusive behavior. Listen, it's so much to be said. One of the things that I'm super excited about that we're doing, and we talked about it earlier, is bringing men into the conversation. And I really, 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 really want those of you who are watching to take just a minute and please go to this website, realmenwearpurple.com. We are having a virtual gala on Sunday at 2:00. It's completely free unless you want to VIP yourself and upgrade yourself to a mask or a Real Men Wear Purple t-shirt. You're welcome to $25, $35. We spend that at Starbucks in a week's time, right? And we have 11 men in our community have taken a stand who said no to domestic violence. It warmed my heart. Like Tracy, Tuesday, our conversation a week ago when we had all 11 of them come through and take pictures and talk and share their thoughts. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because it just had me so cool.
Man, just in the process of them sharing why they were willing to step up as a Real Men Wear Purple ambassador, it was amazing. The stories of wanting to be the great example for their sons that they're raising to stop the cycle. Wanting to be there as a support system for women when they come out, to let them know that all men don't do this and I'm here to help you, and to be that man that speaks to the man that is the abuser and say, brother, that's not right. It was amazing. I mean, at different points, I got goosebumps listening to these guys just share their stories and speak from their hearts. They were speaking from their hearts. So when you join us on Sunday, you'll get an opportunity to hear 11 men speak from their hearts about being the head, the protector, the provider that God intended for them to be.
I'm telling you, realmenwearpurple.com. Please go get the ticket now. Share that. It's an amazing, it's going to be an amazing event. And you will hear some survivor stories. Actually, we had a documentary, and both of the ladies who you see right here in February were part of, and I'm talking about a chilling documentary, which you will be re-airing again. The story, it was just, oh my God. You'll see parts of the documentary at the event on Sunday as well too. So you'll hear some more of Tina's story if you come back on Sunday. You'll be exposed to more about why we're here and why it matters that you are here with us. We cannot do this alone. It requires all of us. And so, ladies, Kathy and Tina, I just want you guys to make a closing statement. If there's a woman who's out here right now and she's watching this live, she just hopped on and she's in the throes of something right now, what is it that you want her to know? What do you want to say to her? Kathy, you can go first. What do you want to say to her?
You know, my heart it always goes out to, you know, those women that have kids. Be coming from that place. And if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your kids. Get your kids out of that environment. But I want you to be safe doing it. Make sure that you come up with a plan that will keep you and your kids safe.
Okay. Tina?
Yes, and I concur with what Kathy said. Do it for your kids. And even if the kids are not even in the home, like for me, my kids were not in the home. They're still my sons.
Yeah.
You got to love yourself. You just got to get out, because it's nothing good that's going to come out of it. It's not. And just love yourself, know your worth, and just get out of it. And can I share something real quick that I got from work today? It's really going to be helpful for, it's a code. We got an email from work about a code that you can give to anybody, because, you know, it kind of started during the COVID-19 when you're doing a lot of FaceTime and you're in these abusive relationships. If you can do it on FaceTime or you're in person, somebody come in your house. So it's a conversation. It's on YouTube. So she was FaceTiming her friend, and they were talking about the banana pudding recipe. See, I'm gonna show y'all what she did. So this is what she did. She moved her hair, then she put her hand up, then she did this, and she did this.
We can't see
That's
your
the
hand.
code.
Move your hand over.
Bring your hand open. We didn't see your hand.
Which one?
We couldn't see your hand.
Do it again with your hand.
Okay. So she moved her hair.
Uh-huh.
Are we
You
good?
see that? Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then she placed her hand up
Mm-hmm.
like this.
Mm-hmm.
Do the other
Can y'all
hand.
see? Then
Do
she
the other
did
hand.
this. Then she pulled it down. Yeah.
Like this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the sign. That's a code. Give
Okay.
it to your family. When you're talking to them, it's on YouTube. Just go out there, domestic violence code. I went out there
Okay.
and searched it, and it's
Okay.
there.
Okay.
And they can watch it. Just give it to anybody that your family, friends, girl, I'm finna face, you talking about just anything.
Yeah.
And that lets them know he
I'm in
acting up.
trouble.
Call 911.
I'm in trouble.
Can
I'm in
I
I
add
just
something
wanted to
also,
share
Dr.
that.
Shana? Can
Go
I add
ahead.
something?
Yeah.
And I just also want to add, that, like I said earlier, there's organizations that will help you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank Dr. Shana for creating Her Voice, which is
Yes.
the mentor program where Tina and I are mentors. And, we just want you to know that you have a support system.
Yes.
Once you make that step, there are people that will walk with you, and we are part of that system that want to walk with you to help you get through to that next level in your life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do it alone.
Mhm.
Tracy, closing thoughts. You went mute on me, Tracy.
My bad.
That's bad.
All right. So just remember that domestic violence is not just about that couple. Okay. It's not just about that family. It's a community issue. What happens to that family impacts our entire community. Let's just think about that and the fact that it takes a community coming together to overcome all the tough times that we're dealing with right now. So we got to be there for each other. So let's be a community and be a support system and help others get into a space of being safe and into a space that's healthy.
Absolutely. And thank you to all those who are watching. Florida, Frederick, El Denise Green, Amber Lane. Thank y'all for being here this evening. You could have been anywhere. I know we got a big old debate that's coming on right after us. So we know that you could have been anywhere right now, but you chose to be here. Make sure you go get your ticket to realmenwearpurple.com. If you go via VIP, it has perks. Not only can you get a mask, you can, or Her Voice signature mask, or Real Men Wear Purple t-shirt, but you get early entrance into our silent auction. And let me tell you, we got some good stuff. We have trips, we have beach houses, we have some business packages, a whole bunch of memorabilia. We have an amazing, can anybody say Cancun? Anybody want to go? Anybody want to go to Vegas? Anybody want to go? Anybody want to go to Galveston and the beach house? I'm saying we have some really amazing silent auction items you can bid on to continue to support the work that we're doing. Make sure you get your ticket, share this message. Please hit the share button. Share, somebody needs to know. You just don't know how important you might be in someone else's ability to get safe and to be able to rebuild her life. It takes just one of us to make a decision that can affect so many. So I say thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Tina. Your courage always just warms my heart. I love y'all to pieces, and I'm just so glad to have gotten to know you over the years that we've been able to work together. So Tracy L. James, what would I do? I appreciate you so much. I love my sister too. Y'all take care this evening, and we'll see you guys on Sunday at the Real Men Wear Purple virtual gala 2020 for Her Voice. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Thank you.